Hi, welcome to the presentation for the Team Achievers. This team consists of Ari, Pressley, Nomita, and Franklin. Today we are talking about bringing artificial reality into the meeting room. That is our innovative project. So let's talk more about the innovative specs. Our innovative project is a virtual team meeting room. In this team meeting room, we will create hardware and software package that allows virtual team members to hear and see people in an augmented reality conference room. Imagine sitting in the front of your desk would be a tower, similar to a home pod or some other type of tower. In that tower, you'll have a camera and a laser scanner that will scan your body movements and your physical movements. It will have color. It will monitor all of your environmental surroundings, and then it will create a 3D model of you that is projected into the virtual room. The virtual avatar, you'll be able to access this virtual room through AR glasses, which will also scan your eyes so that in the room you will not be wearing these glasses. In the room, you'll be able to see other people. You'll be able to give documents out to people and read them as if they were real paper. You'll be able to write on a whiteboard or project a PowerPoint presentation and let everyone in the room watch as you present. All of this would be from a combination of new innovative technology and software along with other technologies that already exist. There's going to be a scanning tower, as I said, that sits on your desk. You'll see the real self that is sitting at that desk. If you stand up to present, it would also see you standing up. You'll be able to pass documents around because the documents will either be scanned into the system or downloaded into the system from your computer. When you take a document, it downloads that document to your computer. So if I hand the document to Ari, it downloads the document into Ari's computer so she can access it later, but she can also read it in the conference room. You'll be able to see each other in the room and interact with each other virtually. The benefits of the augmented meeting room is less email, less hosted storage space. You'll be able to record meetings. You'll be able to get transcripts automatically from the system. You'll be able to see people moving. It'll be much more dynamic than if you were in a place like Skype or Zoom. So let's talk a little bit about the technical requirements. What existing technologies will be used in implementing the innovation? We have the HoloLens, which is a type of camera scanner that can 3D scan or take a picture of an object and make it into a 3D object. Microsoft Teams already has a lot of integration across platforms. It would be a good basis to do the chats or to do file transfers. Beam is a system that scans objects as well as the Faro laser scanner, which can do 3D scanning. Screencast-O-Matic, which we're using to record this video now. Cloud computing. Online games, which allow multiple players to talk with one another in real time. All of these technologies can be added into the technology that we're creating. In addition, the technologies that need to be creative, we need to get the laser scanner to really focus on the movements of the person. You also have to have the camera to augment the scanner so it captures the color, the texture, what you're wearing, that kind of thing. The scanner also has to scan your eyes. So even though you have these glasses on, these virtual reality glasses, you still need your eyes scanned. So that's going to have to be something that's created as well that doesn't exist. Let's talk really quickly about return on investment. This is going to be a tech startup, so it'll require an initial round of angel investors. We estimate an initial startup round of investment of 3 to 5 million. These investors will not see an immediate return on their investment because this will be used for product development. The window from startup to a viable product is predicted to be about 5 years. That's average in the tech industry. The second round of investment will be needed to bring the product to market. We expect that to be a $10 million round. Once we've gone to market, we expect 1 to 2 times return on an investment, which again is average for a startup in the beginning. But over time, that should grow to an average of 15 times. Let's talk about some of the business issues here. We're looking at an innovative technology. So this would be similar to the concept of the blue ocean strategy. We're trying to find a way away from the red ocean. We're trying to find a new product, a new way to use products that hasn't been done before. And we believe this virtual reality system has not been done before. We are able to capitalize on some of the remote meeting technologies that currently exist, like Zoom, Skype. But even though there are over 150 different types of this meeting software, they all do about the same things, which show camera images of someone and allow people to talk over the camera. This is not the same thing as what we're proposing, because we're proposing a 3D room where you can look around and you can see people, you can see what's happening in the room, you can walk around the room, that kind of thing. We are consider that the 80-20 rule of IT spending, we're going to use that to avoid a cost overruns. The value perceived by the user for any technology innovation accounts for only 20% of the true cost. Every 5% increase in perceived value doubles the cost. Understanding the 80-20 rule of IT spending is very important when designing new technology. Otherwise, we do run into cost overruns. We must decide what type of offering will this technology be. Will this be software service on premises, or will it be something that you buy in the store? We also need to know if our market is going to be small, medium, or large businesses. And we must make sure when we're considering the size of the business, using that in the design. Perhaps you would have a desktop version for small businesses, or maybe a built-in conference room version where you actually go into the conference room and you're scanned while you're in the room. We would create tiers based on these different designs. On the premises setup, if a local startup wanted to use the technology, we could probably set this up costing about $20,000. If a large enterprise wanted to implement it, we would probably look at closer to making $200,000. Now, if this enterprise was global and wanted globally, we could distribute that as well. We could also charge for the user using the system. If we have the virtual room, that could be a charge. Customers will not be okay if there's a 24/7 uptime, so we do need to make sure the cost goes significantly down. The customer wants to use it as a mission critical software. It means the remote teams can connect and collaborate daily with a 99.99% availability. But this will increase the need for the pricing, the cost. After the project charter has been created and we have executive buy-in, we must very meticulously do the requirements gathering and defining the project plan. Once we have a solid project plan, every aspect of the project must be broken down into WBS so that we have a visual representation of the product activities. Using the network diagram method, we must calculate the critical path, what items can be sequenced, what can go in parallel, and therefore what is the longest duration items that the project need to be completed any sooner than that. Once that is determined, there must be proper resource allocation. At this point, we can make a rough estimate of cost and time. When we are asking for a budget, we must make sure that we're doing proper project planning, where we are able to accurately predict both cost and time. Any delays will ultimately add to the cost. If we're not accounting for delays, even though we may be on target for monthly spending, but we go over 2 months, then we have eaten into our annual budget. At that point, either the project gets defunded or the funds are borrowed out of a contingency room from some other product, or we do another round of investors. Stealing from Peter to pay Paul is never a solid business strategy. Hence, it's important to control the scope of creep, even Though adding small new features of improvement may seem to increase the perceived value, we can't fall into the trap of getting exponential cost overruns. When an IT projects fail or underperform, it's usually due to a lack of enough funding. We must have proper monitoring and control processes to keep track of progress, risk management, stakeholder management. In short, continuously monitor, report progress against expectations, export on mitigated risk. Ultimately, we must do a cost-benefit analysis to determine the following to produce an executive plan for the development of this tech, looking at internal development, working with partners, outsourcing, breakdown into phases, determining cost of shipping, measures of our KPIs, and what are quality control measures. All of these things are important to that process. Our customer service strategy, customer experience strategy is to really make this an out-of-the-box product. We want to earn the customer's trust by being relevant. We want to define our vision. We want to have reliability, live up to what is promised, convenience, offer choices, consistency, and timelines, responsiveness. We want to listen and respond, and we want to ensure offerings and interactions that are personalized and meaningful. Adopt new hiring and training processes for customer support is important. We want to get the technology production in order before trying to optimize the customer experience. Because if the tech development is too complicated or too costly, that will work against the customer. Gathering customer intelligence from numerous sources is going to be important. We're going to need to identify customers' moments of truth and excel at them. Governance. We need to establish a steering committee or decision-making body. We need to create a program management office or a lead program management role. Approve or deny any proposals based on business drivers and expected impact. Establish a architectural review board and communicate frequently and focus on compliance and risk management. Let's talk a little bit about some of the legal issues. For the purpose of supporting this innovation, which both integrates automated and virtual realities into a business setting, this analysis will use artificial reality and virtual reality interchangeably. There will be several areas of law which would be involved. These areas of law include intellectual property and copyright law, trademark and patent law, virtual privacy and liabilities, and contract and negotiations. There's also the state of legal environment as it relates to AI or VR, AR or VR applied to the technical world will be considered. Many issues surface when bringing augmented reality to the interconnected workspace, especially when its data and supplemental technology is hosted in the digital cloud. Businesses that implement a virtual meeting space will be bringing into the company's physical structure. Procedurally, there are infrastructure and IT support issues and client relations management. Legally, the environment that hosts the new information must be protected since business collateral discussed within a virtual meeting space is intellectual property. Additionally, most VR spaces, especially those already integrated between multiple applications of cloud, allow users to import data that may already be under copyright or protected by IP law. This action would be in a virtual meeting space and the participants would be impacted directly. Copyright law, which is a branch of IP law, would also require everything that's developed within the virtual space to be protected regardless of whether it's published or not. After all, a work does not need to be registered to be entitled to production. It needs to be registered to initiate a lawsuit. Business as collateral takes many forms, proprietary or not. Storing and manipulating it in a virtual space requires copyright protection of documents being shared. This is the responsibility of sign-on corporations to ensure that all work is under copyright protection from the moment it is created in fixed and tangible form. Extensive research must also be done to prevent litigation cases when implementing new technology. Augmented reality uses copyrighted versions of materials like someone's likeness or business documentation to overlay on the real world, which could be a transformative use of the original copyrighted material. These materials can include maps, compilations of data, photos, interfaces, display elements, or integrative elements. Multiple trademark contingencies factor into the implementation of AR in the professional meeting as well. Noted in Forbes magazine, trademark law protects against the unauthorized use of a trademark in a manner that would cause reasonable consumer to believe the trademark owner either one was the source of the goods, two endorsed and sponsored the goods. The source of the goods implication is especially important to consider when implementing a multi-layer or multi-party technologies like an AR meeting space. Because if, for instance, the Microsoft HoloLens was visibly a primary component of the innovative package, one could assume that Microsoft has sponsored the product. If that was not true, there could be a major trademark violation. Overall, the use of all technical components would need to be negotiated with major players if the contributing pieces as is or the technology of the virtual meeting room will need to incorporate a singular trademark for all pieces combined. Under U.S. patent law, a new patent can be issued for 20 years to the first person who presents a novel, non-obvious intention. So what constitutes novel intention when virtual reality moves so quickly? Which combination of packages and integrations and additional applications of technology would claim the right to a patent? This is a long-standing debate. Patentable subject matter includes maps, systems, data, and its usages, features and processes, business methods and models, providing it is unique and documented. Various social networking features, the AR environment, fortunately, also are patentable, as is the integration of the functionality of existing technologies or services, which means the concept of the virtual meeting room is patentable even if the exact model of its integration may not be. It's an important point. Some legal issues survive all areas, no matter the space business is conducted within. Liabilities, privacy, security, information, all those areas. There are claims by users against other users in a virtual space. This is common in cyberspace. Furthermore, privacy of individuals, professionals would require production to be by the hosted businesses. And since the virtual platforms provide substantive amounts of personal data of its users to further the data collection business, continuance amidst the Internet of Things and the importance of shaping the consumer experience. Customers' right to publicly and privately apply to implementing AR into business practices. Since this innovation involves working with the likenesses of people, it's going to be important to monitor that and secure that properly. We also need to protect the liability against data security, which means to ensure that the environment is safe and consistent and works with licenses and terms of use. In the case of liability breach or tort against an individual in a virtual meeting space, contacting parties must ensure protections against those participating in the environment without being the technological host. By a factor within the reinstatement third of torts, the liability for physical or emotional harm falls to the party who was negligent in their supervision of their virtual environment during the use by another. This means all contracted hosts of the technology would need to be contracted as legally liable on the part of the technology's guarantor, and the participating parties in the meetings hosted by the contract party would need to contractually agree to liability fault should their behavior in the AR environment be committed to the offense of another. I would say one source suggests that at most courts should allow such negligent supervision lawsuits only when the defendant has failed to implement reasonably inexpensive and effective technology self-protection measures that don't involve excluding users or disclosing information about them. Multiple contracts must be negotiated to ensure secure transactions. Licensee, contract companies, participants of contracting companies, participants of company partners. Many terms will be included: due diligence for job site implementation, VR spaces, terms of sale and service, copyright of code, organization, ownership rights, data licensing, confidentiality, and non-disclosure agreements. Current law in all areas as applied to VR and AR and the internet are still in development. There are no local or international executable regulations. When examining the legal and implemental liabilities that could arise when initiating an all-encompassing virtual reality system into professional workspaces, there remains the overarching issue of that these regulations of applications have yet to catch up to the current technology. Cybercrime, privacy, internet exposure, intellectual property laws, as applied to virtual and augmented reality, are not as sophisticated enough today to provide the necessary legal resolutions. VR spaces are continuously in development, which destabilizes legal footing and the ability of governments to command judicial reforms. Popular practices include the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, and those ideas could be used to help develop a better system of laws and regulations for this industry. There's just a few risk issues to consider. As more licenses are given, organizations must know about the potential difficulties that may emerge. These dangers include availability risk, compliance risk, brand risk, access risk, and business value. These are important concepts to understand as they apply to the risk for this product. We also have operational, commercial, and financial considerations. Operational risks could mean failing to meet quality, which is a major risk of innovative advancement. Since that particular project has not yet been explored, it's a new product. Commercial risk, failing to attract enough customers. Financial risk, which is typical for a startup. 90% of startups fail. This is a risk that has to be considered. So the conclusion, this project can piggyback on existing technology in 3D scanning and holographic imaging. File sharing and virtual spaces already exist. The innovation here would be combining all this into one package, one service that just works right out of the box. Here are our references. Thank you for coming tonight, and I hope you enjoyed our presentation.